Hey there, everyone. I'm Tony from Marathon Mates. On this episode of the Flying Runner podcast, we're going to tell you what's on our bucket list. Yes, what marathons are on our bucket list. We'll share with you why we really want to run these races and why they are so special for us. Are you ready to run?
Welcome to the thrilling world of the Flying Runner, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 59 of the Flying Runner podcast. This is going to be one of our special episodes because tonight we're going to empty our bucket list and tell you which races around the world we really want to get to. Now, you've got to bear with me. I'm looking this way because that's where my notes are, because down here where I normally have them, I'm watching the women's marathon in the Olympics. I'll tell you a little bit later on. We'll tell you why these events are so special to us and hopefully just maybe inspire some of our listeners to join us over the next few years as we plot our ways to be able to do some of these wonderful events we're going to talk about. Now, normally we do record on a Monday night, but this week we're recording on the Sunday afternoon. So just to give you a bit of a heads up, Tim and Tara have come back from the Sunshine Coast Marathon weekend, and Lucia was running with 90,000 of her closest friends through the city to surf in Sydney. So they're probably a little bit sore and tired, all of them, but we'll see how we go. I really appreciate the fact that they've showed up on a Sunday because ultimately I couldn't do Monday night this week. So let's kick the ball off, shall we, guys? How were your runs? So let's start with you, Lucia. Let's start with 90,000. Did I get that right? Did I hear that right?
It was. I've got to say, I've done it a few times now, and what I'm about to say, I don't want to put anyone off. So, because it is like Christmas Day for runners, but it was one of the most congested city to surfs I have ever done. You could not get. So I started in the third group, and at the finish line, you couldn't even run over the finish line. Probably about 100 meters prior to the finish line, you literally came to a standstill, and it was hysterical. One guy's trying to bolt past my friend and I, and I'm like, mate, you're not going to win, so don't bother. It was just so congested, and certain parts in the last K are normally a bit wider, and this year they were slightly more narrow. So for me, it wasn't the most enjoyable just because of the I've never seen it congested like that ever. It was a bit hot as well today. Heartbreak Hill got me this time, but that was because I'm not feeling the best. I have a hair cold, so maybe not my smartest idea, but I just didn't give two hoots about the time. But I think the one thing I was disappointed about, not for me personally, about 300 meters into the race, you go down William Street. And just prior to coming up to see the big Coke sign in Sydney, and I could see someone on the side, I could see a young girl, maybe about 10 or 12. She was crying. So I go over to see what's wrong. She'd lost her parents.
Oh.
And not one person had stopped to see if she was okay. So naturally, first thing I do is I pause the Garmin, of course. But she was so distressed, and I'm like, don't worry, we'll find your parents. She had her Apple Watch, but she tried to call the mum. The mum wasn't answering. She didn't know how to find the number. So we were trying everything. And then maybe about 5-10 minutes after, I'm with her. 2 police officers arrive. One goes to a car to get something to maybe try and find the parents. And then the second cop said to me, go, like, it's all right. And both of us kept on reassuring it. It's like, you have the police now. They will find your parents, so don't worry. So I think for me, that was probably the most disappointing thing. Like, running's meant to be about helping people in need, and not one person stopped.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands
For a
of
little child.
Mm.
Yeah.
maybe 12, and she was so distressed. I'm like, don't worry, we'll find them, it's okay. She goes, thank you so much for stopping. And because I felt bad for her, I'm like, and I said to her, I'm sorry that no one has already stopped for you. So that was the disappointing thing, but overall it's still a great day. The crowds were just a nightmare. I don't think I'll do it next year because I think I need to give myself a break every few years, but I'll still go to the expo though, naturally.
So Lucy, just for our listeners, so it's a 14K race or run.
Yep.
From CBD of Sydney to Bondi Beach.
Yep. So there's Heartbreak Hill comes in at about the 7K-ish mark, and there are a couple of hills after that as well. Heartbreak Hill for me felt a bit harder this year, but I think that was because I'm not 100% today. And it was hotter than normal as well. Yeah, so it is like they, and there is some entertainment along course, but this year we found it not as much as previous years. Yeah, and for the runners, if you are going to do it one year, incorporate hills into your training more than ever, because you just don't know when the smaller ones are going to sneak up. And also practice the hook turns as well, because about 500 meters towards the end, you have to do a few hook turns to actually get to the finish.
Yeah. And you're running along the side of the harbour, on the southern side of the harbour, through some of the most affluent suburbs in Australia, yeah?
Yes, you're going past some of the schools that have aquatic centres that are gone as worth how much. You do pass some very, very expensive real estate in Sydney, but also some stunning views. You get to the top of one hill, which is next to one of the schools, and that's where everyone stops for a photo, because you can get some iconic shots of the harbour. So it is a stunning course, but for me, it just wasn't ideal today.
Yeah.
And it is quite a congested course at the best of times. So if you're saying it's congested, it's very congested, because most of the time the finishers are going across the line before most people are even starting. There's still a lot of people starting as people are finishing on that course. So
yeah, exactly. Because I think the last start group started I think I've got 10 or 11 in my head. So I can only imagine, maybe 10-ish. I can only imagine how much more congested it would have been at the finish. And I started just before 8. Yeah, so I was in the third group. It was just never seen it like that before.
Yeah. Now, before we get to Team Alice and the Sunshine Coast, it is important that I say that we are all probably tracking the women's marathon at this particular stage, and it does look like Sinead Diver, for our Australian athlete, has already come unstuck, and so it looks like she may have injured herself, and I think the time was 4:37, so she didn't get too far into it at all. Now, I don't know if she's still running. They just showed her on the side of the track just trying to stretch out, so it looks like a bit of a unfortunate thing already there for Sinead, which is disappointing. So
she might be doing a Safan Hassan in London a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it looked a little bit more serious. But we'll see. The fingers crossed. I'll see what transpires. But Team Alice, you did the Sunshine Coast Marathon weekend. Tell us, how was it?
Yeah, so it was the half for us today. We just used it as a training run. Sunny Coast is one of our favourite runs. It was actually our first ever marathon that we did together. Well, we didn't do it together. Very first marathon we ever did. And we find now that the half marathon is perfect for us there, just because it's like 4 or 5 weeks after Gold Coast. It's a good test of the legs after doing Gold Coast, just to see how things pan out. And there's so many friends and people on course. It's a really lovely course. The volunteers are amazing. Kay and Jed, our good friends, are there. And I think we stopped with Jed for probably 5 minutes and had a good old chat with him. So that probably took away a bit of our time today.
Yeah. We saw Mary did her 10th marathon in a row up there. So one of our
congratulations. Awesome.
Yeah, we saw lots of people. But it's just one of those stunning courses. It starts at sunrise. You run up over Alexander Headlands and you see the sun coming up over the water. It's just beautiful. Coastal run with views over the ocean, and then you come along the river, and it's stunning views along the river. And anyone who wants to have a look, we've got a video up already on it on our YouTube channel, so you can go and have a look at that. But it was a really good weekend. We ran it in about 2.5 hours. So for us, we've had a bit of a shaky last couple of weeks since Gold Coast. I've had a bit of a chesty cough thing. Tara's not felt the best over the last week or so. So this was sort of the start of our training now for Chicago. So we've got about 9 weeks now to Chicago from today. We've knocked out 21 Ks, and we can just build it up from here. And we're just treating it more like a training run today. And we just had a lot of fun. Everything just seemed to go pretty easily for us today. It was good. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it was nice to have that little break in. Well, I think he's about 16 Ks where the Caboolture Road Runners, where Kay and Jet are. So it was nice just to have a bit of a break at 16 Ks. And, you know, I did complain that there was no gin and tonic in my water, and it was just water. So I think he's going to remedy that for me for next year.
Yeah.
Nothing new on race day. So have you ever run with gin and tonic? I would say, Tara.
No.
So,
No.
all right. And you did park run?
Yes, we went to Harmony Boulevard Park Run up on the Sunshine Coast. It's a relatively new one. It's been going for about 12 months. It's a bit of a loopy course. It's 2 2-kilometre loops followed by 2 500-metre loops. So no, it's not bad. It's a nice course. It's good. It's good surroundings.
Great volunteers.
Yeah.
Volunteers are so lovely.
I wouldn't say it's in my top 10 park runs that we've been to, but it's, you know, it's a good, well-organised event, and definitely one if you're on the Sunshine Coast to definitely go and have a look at. What about you, Tony? How's your training going?
Interestingly, during the week, Sharon and I focused on just doing some walking. As we know, Sharon's still on do not run orders, so because of her bursitis that is in her feet. And of course, I sort of buggered the calf again last weekend, so I've been on a bit of a self-imposed. But saying that, a couple of strength exercise sessions during the week, just walking. I felt really good coming into Saturday, to be honest, just doing some massage. The calf felt strong. But I just spent yesterday, normally our long run, just walking, just under 2 hours, just being fighting a battle with myself, because I was saying I wanted to run, but I knew that was probably a dumb thing to do. So I just walked, and I feel so much better for that today, for making that decision. And I just feel that come next Saturday, I'll be running again. So, and that would have been 2 weeks, and so a really good time period for me. And then I can just start getting back into some training for New York. So we're 5 weeks out from Sydney today.
Wow.
And Ben, as we know, it's a training run for us. It's a 42K long run. So that'll be interesting. We're just going to enjoy that run because our eyes are on New York. So yeah, that was it. And now, Tim, you've also had some interesting comments that have come our way on the podcast.
Yeah, so a friend of ours, Sharon, so a big shout out to Sharon. She's going to be in Chicago with us. Her and her husband, Ross, will be there in Chicago.
And Lucia knows Sharon and Ross from Dopey Challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so she's reached out to us during the week. So hello, Sharon, if you're listening. So her comment was, I've been really struggling with my running for a while, and this week I've switched to listening to your podcasts instead of music, and it's working a treat and just what I needed. I find it refreshing to not hear that the focus is all about speed and time, but for fun and finishing, which seems to be our focus on this podcast. Thank you, and I can't wait to have fun with us in Chicago. So it was nice to get that from Sharon and from our listeners. It's always nice to hear feedback from our listeners, and I know Sharon's been struggling a little bit to get into her mojo and get her training and work her way through it all. So to help her on her way, that's a positive. So keep on listening, Sharon.
Yeah, absolutely. Great comment. And great to hear that we're not putting people to sleep on their long runs. I think that's very, very important to note. you could just imagine people crashing out everywhere, and people say, "You've been listening to the Flying Runner." All right, it's that time. It's that time of the week. Let's look at the news. Tim, what's been happening these last? Well, geez, there's a lot been happening. Can I tell you? But what's been happening over the last couple of days?
It's Olympics. And when I do searching for anything other than Olympics, when it comes to running news, there's not much out there. So I just thought we'd quickly have a bit of a chat about yesterday's men's marathon. But if you're listening to this, it was obviously a week or so ago when you hear it. First thing I sort of found and noticed on this course was that it was a hilly course. It was definitely hilly. I think none of us really like to feel anything beyond about 21 Ks that is tough on our marathons. But those hills at 28 Ks, 28 through to about 30 Ks was just horrendous. I've never seen anything like that. And it really did sort out the pack of runners that were there. And then listening to most of the runners post-race, most of them were talking about not the uphill, but the downhill and the impact it had on their quads, their glutes, and obviously their toenails as well. A few of the comments about toenails going. But it really did sort them out, and it was where the winner, Tamarat Tola from Ethiopia, made his mark. He challenged himself on those hills, took the lead, and then gave himself about 20-odd seconds on the rest of the pack and managed to hold it from there pretty much all the way to the finish in Paris. Second across the line was our mate, Bashir Abdi from Belgium. We know him well. He's one of our friends.
We've had breakfast with him, Tim.
We had breakfast with him once in Tokyo after he came second in the Tokyo Marathon in 2020. And then he backed it up the following year, winning the bronze medal at the Tokyo Olympics. And then this year became the silver medalist. So it was good to see him get the silver. And then third was Kip Ruto from Kenya. So I thought it was really good. And I think it was Kim Tilgeman who made the comment that it's really good to see a race where the course is challenging and it's not all about maintaining a constant pace. It was about the course itself and the better runner on the day. And I think we got to see that. Tola took it on. He took charge and went for it. I guess the disappointing thing for all of us was the demise of Eliud Kipchoge. I haven't seen much because I've been tied up with this half marathon today on what's come out in the media or what's come out in the press from Eliud. But looking at him, he looked like he was struggling with a hip issue from about 15 Ks through. And it just looked like it got worse. And then it was about 30 Ks when he hit the top of those hills or around those hills where he formally withdrew from the race. So, Tony, I don't know. Have you heard anything more about?
Yeah, he's talked to the press, and basically he said something along the lines of there was a lot of runners encouraging him to go on, but it was his back, not his hip. So okay. I know during the marathon himself, itself, he was grabbing at his left hip, but there must have been some real pain in the back that was maybe more centered in that particular area. But it was back pain that actually caused him. And he's still the greatest marathoner of all time in our eyes. And, having a DNF is nothing that tarnishes his reputation in my eyes. So, and just an interesting update, we're 5K into the ladies marathon. Gregson and Stenson, the two Aussies, went through the 5K at 17:30 in 47th and 48th. And Sinead Diver hasn't at this stage. She's DNF'd. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And same with O'Keefe from the United States. They're already listed as DNF. So, unfortunately, it does look as if something happened with Sinead.
Yeah.
Very early.
I guess the other couple of races that I looked at during the week were the women's 10,000, where we saw Beatrice Chebet claim the double, winning both the 5,000 and the 10,000 meters at the Olympics, which is just amazing. She won the 10,000 meters in a time of 30 minutes and 43 seconds, which just a touch over 3-minute pace. It's pretty crazy. She won the sprint to finish with just 10 100ths between her and second place, which was the Italian Nadia Battocletti. from Italy. And then third place was your favourite, Tony, Safan Hassan, with a time of 30 minutes and 44 seconds. So that's 2 bronzes to Safan, the 5,000 bronze and the 10,000 bronze. And obviously she's running now in the marathon less than 48 hours after running the final of the 10,000 meters in 30 minutes and 44 seconds. So
that's insane.
Yeah, so
it is. The interesting thing, but I can't see her in the leading pack at the moment. So very interesting. So, what was the 10,000 meters was an amazing race, but you really, the way that the different strategies and tactics all sort of burnt and came to fruition. And but yeah, I mean, Safan, and it's interesting when you watch someone like Hassan run, because all she's got eyes on is her main opponents, and if they make a move, she makes a move.
Yeah.
You could just, it's such a tactical race. It is unbelievable. So
yeah, it's a bit like Jess Hull ran the 1500 in the heats, semis, and finals. She just watched the pack and controlled the pack, and when somebody made a move, she'd stick on their shoulder and follow it around. And it's great when you see people that are racers, that are actually racing other people, and they're not metronomes who are just running at a certain pace that they know they win. They're actually racing, and it's fantastic.
And she deserved that because she got her silver for doing so.
It's great to see the race. And just an update, Safan went through her 5K in 17:28 in 42nd position.
Ooh.
So maybe the
heavy legs.
Heavy legs. Maybe it was a struggle. Hey, I noticed it's not on the news thing, but I got up early and watched Jess Hull in that 1500, and I'm so surprised I did not wake up Sharon. I was downstairs. I went down to the lounge room, but to see Jess get silver in that event was just amazing. So huge shout out to Jessica Hull, and of course beaten by there's no. Once again, one of the greatest, Faith Kipyegon. So I probably haven't said that right, but anyway, so Faith from Kenya, third Olympic medal in gold in the 1500. So there's absolutely no disgrace in that. But Jess ran a beautiful race.
If she ran a PB, she would have won gold.
Amazing. Yeah. And just circling back to the marathon male winner, I don't think this is just my gut, but we know my gut does not stand for anything. I don't think his eyes was on the prize for Paris, because when you have, I think he's more concentrating on LA, because when you break his surname down to LA.
It's now Lucia's funny.
Lucia. We have 2 of them in the group now.
I did see that somewhere online.
Yeah,
that's clever. That is really clever.
Now the last bit of news, which I found interesting, was the men's Olympic parkrun, otherwise known as the 5,000 meters on the track. Now, I don't know if you guys saw the heats, but that was just crazy. There was pushing and shoving and athletes falling all over the place. At one stage, there was even a road cameraman just walking out into the middle of the track as the runners were running past. The heats were crazy, but then we saw the final just before on replay, and Jakob Ingebrigtsen just again proved why he is one of the world's best runners, winning it in about 13 minutes and 13 seconds from memory. So, and he won it by a fair margin in the 5K at the end. But it's not like a park run. They are pushing, they're shoveling, they're jostling for position the whole time, and very tactical that distance. So amazing to see.
Yeah, we saw that a bit in the Olympics, didn't we? There's a bit of jostling. There's a bit of people getting, squeezed out or trying to squeeze in. That 5,000 was just carnage, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Tim, thank you for the news this week. So let's focus on what we're here to have a chat about. And I guess we've all been looking forward to this one, our bucket list races from around the world. And in many ways, I'm just going to walk through each and everyone's bucket lists, and I'm going to start with myself because that's the order that Tim's given me. So, and I'm probably going to be a little bit boring. Maybe I'm just in that boring state of mind. So,
that's your bucket list. It's not boring.
Yeah. So my bucket list at the moment, as it currently stands, and firstly is Amsterdam. That is my number one bucket list. I can't wait to do Amsterdam. Secondly, the Great Ocean Road in Australia down in May in Victoria. Really looking forward to finally getting to do that one day. It's not the traditional marathon. It's about a 44K run, but along one of the greatest roads in the world. So I'm really excited to be running that one. And my third one is the Townsville Marathon here in Queensland. Now, a lot of people are probably shocked by that one because, with all the great marathons that there are in the world, why would I choose Townsville? But I'm going to tell you why. So why are they on my bucket list? So firstly, Amsterdam's on my bucket list. It's nice and flat. It's cobblestones. It's historic. It starts in and finishes at the Olympic Stadium. It takes there's a major part of the course that follows a canal out of the city, so we see all the sights of the city, and then it's also got this, it's almost like a country element, like you're in the country along a canal in Amsterdam. And I'm also looking forward to the post-race probably pain relief there because of the green cafes. Great Ocean Road, why is it on my, it's just something that just excites me to run that race a lot on the Great Ocean Road. There's a real history around the Great Ocean Road in Australia. It was a post-World War II, I believe. War
Memorial.
It's the greatest war memorial that we have here in Australia, and it's the road that hugs the coastline down there in Victoria. So it's just an amazing, there's a lot of history around it. And Townsville is on my bucket list because I would really love for me and Sharon, we've got a lot of family in Townsville, and a lot of our family don't necessarily travel. So it would probably be the only time that they would potentially get the chance to see their sister run. So I would love to do Townsville wholly and solely because of that. So when are they on? Amsterdam's in October, so it's an October race. And as soon as the 2024 is over, registration will open for 2025, and we need to be quick. Great Ocean Road's a May marathon here in Australia, and Townsville is August the 4th. So
you got a year.
So potentially Townsville might be on the cards for next year, but we'll see how we go. What sort of participant numbers? I think Amsterdam's it's relatively large, 30,000, I believe, but I'm happy to be wrong. And to be honest, I'm not actually sure. I'm pretty certain that Townsville is probably less than 1,000, and I would say that the Great Ocean Road is somewhere between Amsterdam and Townsville. So I'm not quite sure of the numbers, but somewhere between 1,000 and 30,000. So
I think Great Ocean Road gets about six
people.
6,000.
Okay. So the Great Ocean Road has got 6,000. That's awesome.
Approximately.
Yeah. You'll be an ultra marathon after that. That's what you'll be doing.
So what are the courses like? I've already talked a little bit about Amsterdam and Great Ocean Road. Townsville's a really interesting course. It's, and normally I don't like loop courses, but Townsville's sort of got a city loop that's about a 10.5, and you do that twice. Effectively, you do it 3 times. But the last loop takes them out to Cape Paloranda. So that's like a 21K loop. And I believe that you do that one last because the half marathon takes that course earlier. So So it's effectively 3 loops, and it's 2 2.5 loops, 2 10.5 loops, and 1 21k loop, and that's the way it works. Those people that know Townsville, it kicks off at Jazeen Barracks. It runs along the Strand, out past the casino and the marina, and then you come back and ultimately it's nice and flat, which we like, and it kicks off at 4:45 in the morning. That's always nice to be doing up there in the heat of North Queensland. And the key thing for us, it's family, it's flat, and it should be a lot of fun. So
stunning views over the
out to Maggie Island
and out over Cleveland Bay and Magnetic Island, and obviously the Great Barrier Reef beyond that, and that crystal blue water they get up there. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting when I do them. So we are planning to do Amsterdam next year, so October 25. Depending on what happens with Sydney, Sydney may also be in the mix for 2025 if it's a major, because running it and finishing it this year, you get a guaranteed place for, I think it's a 3-year time period. Slot. Yeah, you can run it. You've got a guaranteed spot, but if it becomes a major, you'd obviously want to try and run it in the first year, just for a little bit of historical context. So that might be Sydney in September and Amsterdam in October, which may be interesting. And if we were really going to be gutsy, how if we run Townsville in August? So effectively what we could be looking at next year is Gold Coast July, Townsville August, Sydney September, and then Amsterdam in October. So
that's crazier than what we do.
I don't necessarily know if that's on the cards. There's something we'd have to give. But, if we look at Townsville for 2026, definitely Amsterdam for 2025, and Great Ocean Road would probably be a 2026 marathon for us as well. So they're my bucket list at the moment. I don't have a great deal of desire to do things like Comrades or the Big Five. They'd be nice to go to. Probably one that I wouldn't mind doing as well here in Australia is the Dubbo Stampede. It's not necessarily a must-do for me at the moment. It'd probably be a nice to do. It's something a little bit different, and maybe I can get the Big Five experience running through Dubbo. I don't know. So, hey, Lucia, let's talk through yours.
So mine are surprisingly all international marathons. So the first one is I'd love to do the Marine Corps Marathon.
Yeah.
Because I've just heard so many good things about it. And they call it the People's Marathon. And it's one of the few races that actually doesn't have prize money. So hence the reason why they call it why they call it the People's Marathon. And some of the listeners that know me quite well won't be surprised. One of the main reasons as to why I want to do it, because we wouldn't want a Marine to put a medal over your neck. And they run because some of the pictures I've seen, they are lining the course the whole way. They actually run with you, and it just seems like one of those courses that everyone is doing it for the right reasons. And it starts and finishes in Arlington, Virginia, and you run past some of the big monuments in Washington. So it's been on my list for a while to do. All going well, the plan is maybe 2027, but then my plans, who knows, because I also want to do Dopey again, but that's another that is the conversation. Participant numbers, it's about 30,000, so it's a decent sized marathon, and it's in October. So I was looking at like, do I do something crazy and do it this year? But I'm like, no, this year I've said no more international races. Not because physically I can't, but I think it's more the bank account. I said down for a bit, which is ultimately, that's why I think my bucket list ones are going to be more towards 26, 27. The next one for me, I've done this one already, but London. And London for me is very sentimental. And because I used to live there, I lived there for 3.5 years, not long after. Got there in August 2001, and then it was the September 11 attacks, literally like 6 weeks later. So when I did London this time, well, the first time, it was just running past some of the key monuments, and I think one of the highlights for me was running over Tower Bridge.
Yeah,
it's like there's one photo I've got, and one of my friends said to me, "Are you FaceTiming someone or are you taking a selfie?" Because that's the angle I had the phone on. And just very sentimental. And Tony has said this previously as well. I want London to be my victory lap. I was tossing up between London or New York, but London has always had that special place in the heart for me. And I'm still hoping that one day a Royal will put a medal over my head. Because I'm not a massive fan of Prince Harry now. So London's generally run in about April, only because of COVID. It was in October, so they get the big numbers. So this year, about 53,000 people finished it, and you just run past some iconic landmarks, like the 3 bucket list places. I just stop for a selfie, and also I want to do it again because I don't need to stop as many times for a selfie because I'll already have the selfies from last time. But you run past Big Ben, the Palace. It's just absolutely amazing, and the crowd. So that's why for me it's on the bucket list to do again, because it's more of a sentimental reasons as to why, which is similar to the last one, Rome. So in case the listeners haven't worked it out, I do have Italian background. I know, shock horror.
Who would have thought?
Especially with that last name and first name, it just doesn't seem right. Like,
well, I just to make it clear, just in case. And again, Rome is another sentimental one for me. Obviously, having an Italian background, Rome is one of my favorite cities, but probably more. So last time I was in Rome, one time I was in Rome was 2015 after I'd done the Paris Marathon, and I was very lucky. I had some family come up from down south to see me. And it was the last place that I saw one of my cousins that passed away a few years later. So it's always been that sentimental place for me. And I know that family from down south would come up and watch me run. I've got cousins that live in Rome. So that and you run past some iconic places. Starts and finishes right near the Colosseum. And again, it's very similar to London in terms of the iconic places at last. Probably the only thing that I wouldn't look forward to is a bit of it is on the cobblestone, very similar to Paris. So that one, you would have to adjust your training and run on uneven surfaces, because some of the reviews I was reading was one thing that people hated about it was the uneven surface. Yeah. But then obviously post-race, I would just go crazy on pizzas. As we know, I do like my post-marathon feed. Ironically, after the City Surf today, I didn't have Macca's.
Oh.
So that's a sign I definitely wasn't feeling well.
It's because they've snubbed us on this show, isn't it? Because we've mentioned Macca's a number of times, and not once have they reached out to us for a sponsorship.
No, absolutely.
We want a chocolate thick shake sponsorship.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just going to break in there the 10K splits. Your favorite Asafa's leading at a time of 34:32, but interestingly, both Aussies that are still running 34:36, and were both Gregson and Stenson 24th and 26th.
Ooh.
And Hassan is, where was she? In 34th at 34:38. So it's still a fairly big pack. Still a fairly big pack.
They're all in a big pack, and I'd say Safan's just hanging in there, letting the lactic acid work its way through, and then in the second half she'll start racing properly, I guess.
It's going to be interesting. Sorry, Lucia.
No, all good. No, great update. So Rome's generally around March, which is nice, and I was surprised with the number. Of the participants. They get about 25,000 people. Because running is also massive in Italy. Like, we thought it had boomed here, but it's always been a big thing over in Italy as well. So so 2 out of my 3 are based purely on sentimental reasons.
Yeah. No, and that's good. That's why they're on your bucket, I guess.
Yep.
Bucket list.
100%. 100%. All right, Team Alice.
Well, we've got separate ones. So our lists are like, this is going to take us like 10 years to complete because we're like Lucia with the finances, where the bank account's just going, you have done way too many majors lately. And with two of you doing the majors, it's really like the kids are not ever going to get an inheritance. So my number one would be probably Marathon de Moc. So, or de Moc Marathon, whichever way you want to call it. This race is through the French Bordeaux region. It is amazing. It is every single year. It has a dress-up theme. You're going through the vineyards. Your food. Now, this is one that I will say you can try something new on race day because your food and your hydration at each station. Hydration, yes, in inverted commas there, is wine and food from that local vineyard as you go through. Now, the cutoff time is 6.5 hours for this marathon, and probably 80% of the people come in between 6 hours and 6 hours 30, and they're not running, they're sort of rolling through. So that is one that is high on my bucket list, and that's just going to be a bit of a fun one just to, muck around with.
There's also a theme, isn't there, each year?
Yeah, each year they do have a theme. Depends on I think this year's theme was like a games theme or something like that. But they do like these pre-pasta dinners, and they have a lot of fun beforehand. So it's more like a party rather than a marathon. So that's the reason why I'd like to do that one. Again, timing with Tim's ones might not be quite as good. What do we got there?
When's it on?
Okay, it's in September. It's at the start of September. So if you want to do Berlin, it's actually a good one to do that and then do Berlin afterwards. So yeah, maybe, I don't know. So it's in the start of September usually. And I don't really know about what participant numbers they get because I think it's around about the 15,000 or so.
No, not that many, I don't think.
Not that many?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
A couple of thousand at the most.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, then I'll definitely be one of the last people rolling through. As I said, the course is through the French Bordeaux region. What more can I say? How good would that be? And probably looking maybe hopefully 2026. But again, with Tim and I having two different bucket lists, it sort of makes things.
No, 2026 we're going to do it.
Okay, 2026. There you go. We've got it locked in apparently.
Yeah, we've already, I think Mary, our friend, is looking to lock that in as well. So, yep.
Cool. My other one is the Reykjavik Marathon. So that's the Icelandic marathon. This was held first in 1984, and they only have 56 participants. So to me, that would be quite amazing. They've got 1,500 of them that do it now, but it is just a stunning course through the Icelandic regions. I can't even explain this one.
Yes.
It's just stunning. Like when you look at the videos of it.
Fjords and volcanoes, pretty much all the way.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
it does look amazing. It really does.
It is a small one too. So yeah, that one might be probably closer towards the end of our bucket list just because of, again, Tim's ones are pretty good. So, it's hard to know. But yeah, Reykjavik Marathon, Iceland, definitely on there. And I'm going to go for one that is sentimental to me as well here, Lucia, and it's the Shotover Moonlight Marathon. Now, this here is through my backyard where I grew up almost in New Zealand. It's a mountain marathon. It is going through all the old gold mining areas and all of that. But it's got 2,500 meters of ascent and to it, and it's a single track trail. So to me, that is really, really what I want to be doing. Like, I love that sort of stuff. That's me. But it's through the high countries of New Zealand where I sort of grew up, and it's just, Yeah.
I'm looking at the course profile, and it goes from the start line up, 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 down, 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 up a little bit, down, up, 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 and then a really steep down, 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 with a little up and down, and then a nice little rise to the last couple.
Good luck on that one. Did you say it's a trail?
Yeah, so it's a single trail through the Highland country of New Zealand.
Yeah, back of Queenstown. Yeah.
Back of Queenstown, yeah. So it's just, yeah, and it's a private country, private land that you can't normally run through. So that to me is my sort of thing. It's run in February. You can't really run those sort of things at any other time of the year in New Zealand. Otherwise, you will get snow on you, especially in the high country. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so February is like the height of 15th of February, middle of February. That's the high season for summer. And you get 4 days of summer, and that will be the part of your 4 days of summer in that area. The rest of it is snow. So, no, it's beautiful. Just scenic, amazing. Yep. Again, that'll be when I can convince Tim to do trail marathons with me. So that might be a little while away.
Well, you could do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, I could, but you know, like, who's going to take the photos and the selfies and the camera?
You did a good job last time when you were over in New Zealand last week.
Oh yeah, I'm not as good as you with the camera.
Which brings us now to Tim.
Yes.
Your 3 bucket list.
Yeah, so I've got 3 probably different ones. So the first one on my list is Patagonia. So Patagonia is the remote, very bottom part of South America. This marathon is stunningly beautiful. When you look at YouTube videos of it, there are mountains all around you. They've got snow on them. They've got forested areas. It is as remote as it gets. There's no people or no one else around. It is road racing, but it's dirt road racing. So you're running on gravel roads for most of it. There is quite a bit of elevation through the course as well. And they get somewhere around about, maybe 1,000 or so runners that will go down there. It's an experience in itself. So it's not one you just go to and do the run and then go home that afternoon. You go there a day or two beforehand. You stay in the nice resort that they've got in that area. You meet all the other runners. You do a few experiences together, and then you do the races. And they have races there that are for all different distances, 42, 21, 10K races as well. But it's a glacial national park where you are. There's glaciers all around you, lots of stunning creek and waterways that you cross over. Yes, challenging to get there, challenging to run, but one of those real bucket list ones that if you look it up and Google it, you'll just fall in love with wanting to go there one day. I'm not sure what it would cost to get there, but it's, as I said, an airfare from Brisbane to South America isn't cheap, to Chile, and then from Chile down to the bottom of Chile in Patagonia is even probably more expensive. But one day I'd love to get there. Lots of elevation. What is it? There's a 7-hour cutoff on it. There's 1,020 meters of ascent and 920 meters of descent over the whole area. You get to about 350 meters above sea level, but just stunning. You know, I challenge anyone, go in there and Google it and not want to do it afterwards. So it's held in September. So the next race is the 7th of September. So it's only a couple of weeks away till the next event. So I can't wait to see that one.
Wow.
The second event, you're all probably going to go, what the hell? What's Tim smoking for this one? But my second event that I'd love to do on my bucket list is the Little Rock Marathon in Arkansas in the United States. And you're probably going, why Little Rock? What's Little Rock got to do with anything? Well, many years ago, Tara and I, we love our bling, right? We really love our bling. So many years ago, I Googled world's biggest marathon medal, and it came with Little Rock, Arkansas. And since then, I've fallen in love with the event. I liked them on all my social media. And they're a quirky little event. But to give you an idea on the medals, the marathon medals are as big as a dinner plate. And these people are literally walking around with the medal, with this big dinner plate size medal. It is by far the biggest marathon medal you've ever seen. And not only that, they are really quirky medals. So last year they had sort of a dinosaur theme, and there was spinners on it that would spin in all different directions, and it was glow in the dark and lots of glitter and stuff all over the medal and gaudy colors. This year, next year's theme, because it's held on the 1st of March, next year's theme is Mardi Gras. So try and picture what a dinner-sized plate Mardi Gras medal's gonna look like. But it's they have races for all different people there. Marathon, half marathon, 10K, 5K. The course itself goes right through the whole city itself. They get probably, 1,000 odd runners in the actual marathon itself, maybe a bit less. But, it just is a quirky little race. And when you like their social media, you'll see how quirky the run directors are. They're always posting, quirky little funny videos about what they're doing to promote people to come there. It's a great little race. And again, the marathon has an 8-hour cutoff. So it's very generous time limit to get your big marathon medal. And they even have an early start option. So for those who need just a little bit more than the 6 to 8 hours, they'll actually start it at 5 a.m. for some of the people, just to give them a head start and go out there a little bit beforehand. So really good little quirky race, middle of America.
Yeah.
What else to say about it? So
it sounds very unique. And I'm just, while you've been talking, I've looked them up on the website, and they've got, they do a mud run, they do a creep and crawl, which is a half marathon, and they do the ugly sweater race in December. So no doubt they are very strong in the personality stakes.
Yeah.
So it suits Team Alice.
Yeah.
But if you just Google Little Rock Marathon medal and just look at the images, you'll get all these massive big medals. It is just crazy. So that's held on the 1st of March next year, 1st and 2nd of March next year in Little Rock, Arkansas. And my third marathon is essentially one of the biggest marathons in the world. It is the Valencia Marathon. I'd love to go there just for the hype around it. As you know, we had Kelvin Kiptum. He won in Chicago before he passed away. Prior to that, he won in Valencia. It was a fast course. It is very flat. A total elevation gain over the 42 kilometers of 76 meters. It is a complete loop of Valencia, and the scenery and the start and finish areas is just stunning. The finish line itself, you come into this sort of museum area. I can't remember the name of it, but you're running on this walkway with water on either side of you, and it's just beautiful. So yeah, again, about 50,000 odd runners will do Valencia each year, and it is just one of those courses that is fast. It is full of people that are, it's like another major essentially without being a major. So, and of course, it's Spain. So you finish up afterwards with some tapas and some beers and some wine and, what else? What else do you do?
Yeah. Valencia would actually be a cool one to do just because of the hype. Exactly that, isn't it? It's just to get there. And it was some ridiculous amount of numbers that all went under
3 hours or 2 hours?
Yeah,
2 hours.
Yeah.
I know, under 3 hours. Sorry.
Some ridiculous amount last year. So it would be awesome just to be in a race like that. So and run 6 hours. So so 15K has come and gone with the ladies, and we now see it was been an interesting, because Julian from France, much like the men's race yesterday, Julian from France took off, and there would have been 20 seconds. And Jepchirchir from Kenya wheeled her back in, and now she's back in the pack. And what we also saw during the last 5K is Safan Hassan has now tacked on to the leading pack. So Abiri's at the 15 went through first in 51.12, followed by Jepchirchir. Julian from France, as I said, she's now in 5th, and your Asefa is in 6th. We see Savan in 13th place, and the Aussies are still there, 21st and 23rd in 51.35. So they're doing well. So let's hope they keep it up. So
15 to 28 Ks now is just rolling hills from memory from yesterday. So this is where the legs start to feel it before you hit the real hill at 28 Ks.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's it looks a great race. So we need to wind up so we can all sit down and watch it. But I must say, I reckon that's a pretty impressive list of races that we've all gone through. And knowing you all, I know that these races aren't just a wish list. They are absolutely a bucket list. And as what we've often see, Tim will start planning them out meticulously, and Tara will just go along for the ride. And we know with Lucia, when she sets her sights on something, it usually comes true. So cross the line for Boston, as we all remember. So but yeah, we impressive list, guys. So I just think that is going to be awesome. And of course, we will keep all the listeners and viewers up to date on our quest to check out, do our bucket list. And of course, if you've got a bucket list, why don't you share it with us? Put it in the comments, and we'll be happy to share that on upcoming episodes. Let us know what your bucket lists are, or whether we've excited you enough to come and do Townsville next year. I don't know. So, all right. So, but before we wind up, it's been a great episode. As always, we get a tip from Tim. So, Tim, what's your tip for the week?
Thanks, Tony. So we keep saying it over and over and over and over again that running for fun is really the key to what makes running fun, I guess. So I always say it, and I've said it to Tara, and I've said it to a few other people many times, that life is not a dress rehearsal. You only get one shot of it. So it's important that you make the most of it, and don't put off those running races that are on your bucket list. Make a plan, stick to it, work your way through it, and do what you need to do to be able to get those bucket lists there. So whether it's stepping up to even doing your first ever marathon, that might be on your bucket. Maybe it's traveling interstate to somewhere in Australia and doing a race somewhere in Australia, maybe the Outback Marathon. Or maybe it's going wider afield to a remote corner on the earth like Patagonia and doing a run somewhere else. It's all about getting out there and stepping out of your comfort zones. Creating memories and experiences from new things is an awesome experience. And that's what Tara and I found over the years, that it's awesome. We not only create and have these awesome experiences, but we make many new friends. We see things that we haven't seen before. We smell things in these cities. We hear things. We hear the sights. We see the sights. We hear the sounds. We smell the smells. And I'm pretty sure that later on in life, when I am lying down on my deathbed and having my last thoughts go through my head, it won't be about, sitting there worrying about what I didn't do in my life. It'll be thinking about the things that I did do and those memories that I created along the way. So, it's important that we all try and do what we need to do, and that we're not holding off ticking off those bucket list items. So go out there, create your bucket lists, do some research, and make it happen. That's my tip for this week.
Awesome tip. And of course, they're not make a call, make a decision, make a plan, whatever it is. I'm sure you will not regret making something, making it happen. So hey, we're just about to end, but I know that we always have what's happening next week. So Tara, I'm going to throw to you. What's on the show next week?
Excellent. So next week we've got one of our local running legends, I guess. We actually ran into him today at the Sunny Coast Marathon as well. Phil Hungerford. So he has been running for most of his life. He's going to tell us about his story, what got him into running, and what it's like for him as a older generation runner. I won't call him old because he's not. He's just an older generation runner. He actually owned one of the most popular running shops here in Brisbane for quite a long time. So it was called The Run-In. Really, really, really nice guy. He's going to talk to us about how he does his running events. So he actually owns and operates running events and stuff as well. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that we will only be scratching the surface of what he's done in his lifetime and who he's met. So he's probably one of the people that we've got to thank for the Gold Coast double as well. He's a big instrumental part of that. So yeah, as usual, can't wait to share his story with you.
That's awesome. And just while you were talking, Tara, it must have been the excitement of next week. The Aussie Stenson, they're tackling the hills, and she has taken the lead. So
yeah, go Jess. Go Jess.
Because the Julian from France took over again, but now Stenson's got quite a bit of a gap happening. So how exciting is that? So thanks, Tara. I'm going to go quick. Thanks, Tara.
I was just going to say she's got a point to prove because she was the extra addition to the team, wasn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So let's hope she holds on. We're an hour in, so we're cheering you home. So Tara, thanks heaps for that. That wraps up our episode for tonight. Once again, we'd really like to thank you, our listeners or our viewers. We still get amazed that people listen to this, and a big shout out. And I don't think this is coincidence, but we ranked for the first time in France while the Olympics were on. So I can just visualize a group of Olympians sitting around in their
on their cardboard beds.
Yeah, on their cardboard beds, listening to the Flying Runner podcast. So, but no, seriously, if it was you listening in France, thank you so much. It's the first time we've ever ranked in France. And we just adding these countries up as they come. So we really do appreciate our listeners. If you do like this episode or the podcast, just like the episode, share it with your friends, leave a review. That's the best way that we can be found by others. As usual, the episodes on YouTube and Spotify, audio's on Apple, Amazon, and Amazon, and most other popular podcast platforms. Remember, every step forward is a victory. Lace up, hit the road, and we're going to catch you on the very next episode of the Flying Runner podcast. Until then, happy running.
Happy running.
Happy running.